Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I'm your host, Jake Massucci, and today we got a special edition of the show. Today I got on my guy, Matt Griffin. We are going to be talking about NBA trade deadline, everything you need to know. We discuss the Cavs, we discuss Giannis, and then we go through our winners and losers. So without further ado, I'm going to cue the music. All right, welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Massucci, and super excited to be joined by my guy, Matt Griffin. He's back with us. NBA has been rolling along all season. I haven't done as much NBA this year, and I'm happy the trade deadline happened to jump right back into it. So, Matt, how we doing today, man?
Doing pretty good, Jake. A little bit worse now the podcast started because our frames are off. You look much bigger than me. You look much taller than me. So I don't really like the way that makes me feel heading into this. But I'm excited to talk to you about some hoops.
There we go. I like it. So, let's talk Cleveland Cavaliers. We're talking about it off screen as I was setting up the scene for you, but the Cavs just did a ton, dude. Like an absolute ton. I mean, it's pretty much like a whole new team. So, I want to get your thoughts here and really focus on James Harden moving there and all the additions that they had. So, talk to me about your thoughts on the Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, I think starting with the James Harden addition, the Cavs have been pretty disappointing this season, right? And it feels like disappointment has been kind of a common theme with Cleveland throughout this whole, I guess, Donovan Mitchell run, you could call it, whether that be in the playoffs or now, even in the regular season. A lot of it has had to do with injury and availability. And Darius Garland was their least available player throughout the past 3 years. He's constantly getting injured. He's very small, and it feels like that kind of plays a role into it. Although, if you look at the injuries, I mean, individually, it's like, what can you really do about a guy's like face being broken, like his jaw being broken, and he can't eat? That's not because he's small. That's just unfortunate draw, I think. It definitely felt like something had to shake up in Cleveland, right? Like it has been disappointing. It has felt like it's starting to lag along a little bit. My thing with always that line of thinking was, well, who are you going to trade and actually get a better player for, right? Like how are you going to be able to get rid of any of these four guys because they're old, the big four, I guess you could say. We're all really good players, and I really love Darius Garland's game, but James Harden's better than him. He's been better than him this season. I think Darius Garland's really struggled. I love the way Darius Garland plays basketball. I think that, offensively, like his process is just pristine. I think that he sort of carries on a lot of the traditions of like the old sort of point guards that people like to reminisce about. Like he does kind of have some remnants of Steve Nash in his game, but he's just so small. He's just so bad defensively and offensively. When you already have a guy like Donovan Mitchell on the ball as often as you do, it feels kind of tough to make amends with the things that Darius Garland struggles with to get, his strengths on the floor as good as they are. So I like it for Cleveland. I think that they had to shake stuff up. Obviously, they also added role player talent, particularly Keon Ellis, who I think is a good sort of fringe rotation player and, wins the possession battle for you and will guard the other team's guards at a pretty high level. They had a really good deadline. I think they're a lot better than they were, in spite of, Harden's obviously well-established shortcomings in the playoffs. At least he plays, and Garland often doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. The thing that kind of fascinates me the most with this Cavaliers thing is Harden's pace moving to Cleveland. So I got the pace numbers up here next to me, and Cleveland's in the top 10 in pace. They're eighth in pace in the NBA. You're kind of thinking, okay, with James Harden, it's probably going to go down. And some of the main focus was like,
Right.
okay, Harden brings more offense for Donovan Mitchell. It seemed like Donovan Mitchell was carrying us in the playoffs. So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on that dynamic with Harden and Mitchell kind of playing together.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I pulled up a couple numbers too, just because I was interested. I mean, obviously, Harden is such sort of an on-ball guy. Like that's what we know about Harden. I think in 30 years, when we're reminiscing about players from this era, James Harden's brought up, you're going to think about just how much he dominated in offense, how much was on his plate, and how much easier he makes everything for everybody else to his credit. But when he played with Russell Westbrook, the offense was slightly below league average with those two guys on the court together. When Russell Westbrook was off the court and it was just Harden, it was still really good, of course. So, a little bit of a red flag there, but that probably is to say a lot more about Westbrook than Harden, I would think, because, with Chris Paul, the offense was fantastic when those two guys shared the court. I mean, you're talking Donovan Mitchell is not nearly as good as Chris Paul to me, and probably is just not, as good of a fit with other players as Chris Paul. He just doesn't have, the unbelievable sort of set of skills that Chris Paul does. But you trust Donovan Mitchell next to a James Harden more than you trusted Russell Westbrook next to James Harden, just because of, what they can do as shooters, probably really more than anything. I think it'll probably fall in the middle there. I think it'll be a good fit, maybe not the perfect fit. I think that the bigs' lives are going to feel a lot easier playing with James Harden. I think Jared Allen should be the person most excited about this trade. Well, I love Jared Allen. Every time
Mhm.
I bring him up, I just have to say, like, I think he is one of the, I don't know, 50 best players in the league, and doesn't get a ton of love because of the situation that he's in. But I'm more scared of Cleveland. I think that there was probably too much on Donovan Mitchell's plate come playoff time most of the time, and now this takes some of that off. And Harden, say what you want. Is he going to be good for 4 straight series? Maybe not. But is he going to be good in the series against the Pistons? Maybe. That's only one series. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's the truth. And us being Pistons fans, that's kind of all we're looking at. Like, okay, how do we match up with them? How is this different? Stuff like that. So let's fast forward. Okay, it's round two of the playoffs. Cleveland is back in round two. What makes this team different? Like, how come this team could probably be an Eastern Conference Finals team? How come this team can finally get over the hump? Like, what would have to be working for the Cavs to get over that?
Well, I think the first thing that separates this Cleveland team from those in the past, that they're playing in a weaker conference, so that helps them a lot. They're just going to probably be playing a worse. They're not going to be playing the Jason Tatum Celtics of old, that had 5 great players on the floor all the time. So that's number one. Number two is that it feels like Donovan Mitchell's having one of the better seasons of his career, and man, health luck really just has not broke their way in the playoffs. Evan Mobley has played through a lot of injuries. Donovan Mitchell has, of course. Darius Garland, most notably. So you really want that to fall in line first. But I mean, they've just been picking up scabs, right? Like throughout the years. Every time I think that you go through the playoffs, you get a little bit tougher, a little bit harder the next season, and you come back and you try again, and they're just going to keep doing that, right? Year 2 under Kenny Atkinson. Maybe they feel more comfortable offensively. It felt like a lot of their offensive principles last year broke down come playoff time. Maybe it was because of Garland's limitations, but it did end up just kind of feeling like Donovan Mitchell is hijacking this thing. And maybe that was Donovan Mitchell's fault. Maybe it wasn't. It's kind of hard to say, but I know that it didn't look like the Cleveland of the regular season. But I feel like their set of role players is probably better than it has been in the past. Also, like last year, like they got rid of DeAndre Hunter. I think DeAndre Hunter's bad. So I think, like, just getting him kind of off the floor. I think Dean Wade has probably looked better this season than he has in the past. The metrics have always loved him. So Naquan Tomlin just seems like a guy who's ready to mix it up and some playoff ball. He's physical. He plays hard. So I don't know. I think that there's reason to be excited. As much of it has to do with Cleveland as it does the rest of the conference, though.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because like now looking at it as a Pistons fan, you're like, okay, Boston's a little scary just because they're Boston and they can hit a ton of threes on people. And, if you look at all the net rating stuff, they're near the top of the NBA still. They're always near the top.
Yeah.
And now you look at this new look Cleveland team and you're the one saying it. Like James Harden just adds a scary element because yes, he's not really that consistent in the playoffs, but there is the one game that he'll show up, drop 40 and have like 12 assists and be able to get these two bigs involved. And we know these two bigs are just flat out unbelievable. So I think it's really interesting just seeing that dynamic.
Yeah, and like, it's funny to ever say this about James Harden, but he's a defensive upgrade over Gar. Like just having the size out there, the strength out there as a low man, he'll grab some rebounds. Like it's a benefit. Every point matters in the playoffs. So, it's not nothing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, well, let's move on a little bit. We're gonna get to winners and losers and talk about that in a little bit, but I wanted to focus on Giannis because there's been so much news about Giannis. Everybody was like, "Oh, he wants out again. He might get traded at the trade deadline." Everybody like doesn't really know what's going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. And of course, for me, I've been more focused on college basketball this year, working in it and all that stuff. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it to really like get me kind of like feeling okay, like what's actually going to happen with Giannis.
Yeah. Speaking of college basketball, I listen to all your college basketball. But anytime you do anything college basketball or draft, I tune in. The ones with Asher are always a hit. I always look forward to those. We got some beef about your top 10 little mock draft or big board update the other day.
Okay. All right.
I had some issues with that. But I completely forgot what your question was. I'm sorry.
We're centering on Giannis a little bit here.
But yeah, Giannis, my bad. Giannis. Yeah, I mean, he didn't get traded, obviously. It's kind of been a push-pull thing. It feels like it's always exciting to talk about Giannis getting traded to a degree. Players this good never get traded, right?
Mhm.
But it's been a while. It feels like one of these things where like it's just kind of been flirted with, right? We haven't gotten like a full trade request, but we've got Sham sort of being like they have both decided that the time has come to an end for you. It's like that sounds like a trade request. That seems like what that is. I don't understand really what the contention is. But my guess is that Milwaukee just didn't get an offer that they felt was good enough. In the offseason, I think that you'll get more offers. Everybody feels more positive about their team in the offseason. Everybody is more flexible in the offseason with regards to moves that they can make and what have you. So I think, Minnesota seems to really be gearing up for this thing. Part of the reason that they were participating in that Jaden Ivey trade that the Pistons made was to free themselves up of some cap space to be able to what's the word? Whatever, be able to trade multiple players at once. So, seems like that's the direction that they're headed. That was widely reported too. I don't know. I guess Minnesota's the first team that comes to mind with who could get them this offseason. I know that other teams have been in the reports. And Gobert and Giannis would be very formidable, I would think, if the other two players are just solid.
Yeah, the defense there would just be absolutely ridiculous. Like
You'd
Giannis
think, right?
and
Yeah.
having Gobert, yeah, like that would just be insane. And then you have one of the most dynamic scorers in the game and Anthony Edwards.
Right.
That would be nuts. But so my question here, like, put yourselves in the Bucks shoes for a second. Okay. You're trading Giannis. Giannis wants out. What do you need back in order to get yourselves back on the high horse of trying to get back to the NBA finals where you were when you're losing your superstar like this?
I mean, it's going to start with just trying to obtain draft. Like you have to draft your way out of this. There's really no other way to kind of put it. You're going to win on the margins for some years. You're short draft picks because you went all in for the championship that you won. I mean, that's just kind of like the way that it is. You won the championship. You can't really be mad about it. You're starting from behind now. Rounds is a really nice player. Doesn't it doesn't seem like they haven't been a good drafting team lately. Like that just has not been a strong suit. They're not really finding value late in the draft, and obviously they're late in the draft, which is not ideal. If I were the Bucks, I mean, it'd just be draft picks, man. You're not building anything. Say that you trade for, I don't know, Bam Adebayo is, the Heat were connected the whole time, and Bam Adebayo is, their biggest asset.
Mhm.
You're not winning anything in Bam's whatever this window is of Bam's sort of prime or even this contract. Like, so what are you doing? So I just start from scratch one, see what the best pick offer I can have. I'm calling Utah. I'm calling Oklahoma City. God forbid. Obviously, I don't want to say that. That would be terrifying. But I'm just trying to figure out the most picks I can get, the best picks that I can get, and build from there.
Fair, fair. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because if you're Milwaukee, it's like, and I've been to Milwaukee plenty of time. Everybody just loves Giannis so much.
Of course,
So
yeah,
like them having to get rid of like their guy that brought them a championship. There's so much around the city of Milwaukee where there's so many Giannis murals and all that. Like it's just all over the place. Like just how much he means to the city. So having to
yeah.
get rid of him, I feel like it's just so rough for them. And you gotta get it right, like 100%, you know?
Yeah, and it's also tough because it's like if you trade Giannis, are you going to be the guy that's making the draft picks? Yeah, like it puts you in a tough spot in 5 years. Like what really are the odds of that? So you're right, it is tough. But if I were a Bucks fan, now I'm not a Bucks fan, so maybe I just don't know. But if I like, I wouldn't want to see him just on terrible teams forever. Like that wouldn't excite me personally.
Yeah. No, I think it's really interesting. Like Giannis could go anywhere, and it's just going to change how the NBA goes. You know, it's one of those big time decisions where it's like LeBron in his prime or Kevin Durant in his prime. Like this is kind of what it is because Giannis is just such a valuable player. Where it's like, okay, it's going to kind of change the face of the NBA if he goes to Minnesota. Minnesota is the best team in the West, probably, even with OKC in there, who's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why it's just so big, you know, like talking about it
Yeah, I
and
mean,
him
he's top
actually
three
wanting
player.
out. It's just interesting. Yeah, top 3 player, like you were saying, you know. So definitely interesting and definitely something we'll keep our eyes on as we continue. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna go right into winners and losers and really kind of dive deep into the trade deadline. We'll be right back. All right, let's get right back into it. Let's go winners and losers for trade deadline. So, Matt, I'll start with you. Who's your first winner?
My first winner might come as a little bit of a surprise, just because the player that they gave up is so well regarded. But I think Memphis is a winner of the trade deadline. I think this feels like a sell high to me on Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, former defensive player of the year, can shoot it, can score it. Like he has a skill set that's very highly regarded. I don't think that they would have never been in a situation where nobody wants Jaren Jackson Jr. But to get 3 firsts and Taylor Hendricks, who's probably nothing at this point, but although I don't know, I tuned into Memphis the other night and he was on the court. He's just like so big. He's just so big, and I'm like,
Hmm.
why can't this guy play some good minutes? I mean, Walter Clayton, who I think is good. Like I think Walter Clayton's probably going to be an NBA player for a long time. Great pull up shooter, obviously, and just kind of has the necessary point guard skills, I think, to run an offense. And they traded Jared Jackson Jr., Vince Williams, Jock Landale, Conchar. Vince Williams good. I think Conchar, decent end of bench guy, one of the best rebounders for his size ever. Fun fact.
Hmm.
The main crux of this is the 3 first-round picks for Jaren Jackson. Now, I think Memphis is entering into an era where they are clearly they have to rebuild. This sort of John Morant, Jaren Jackson era is over. And, the team is being built around, funny enough, Zach Edey to me. I think it's Zach Edey. I think it's Cedric Howard. You look at the numbers. When Zach Edey is on the court, this team is dominant. Zach Edey is quick Zach Edey tangent. I hated him in college. Zach Edey is unbelievable. He is so good, dude. I think
Hmm.
you college basketball diehards should have rode harder for him when he was coming into the draft and just been like, no, you don't get it, dude. He's Shaq. Like he's a monster. He rebounds every miss. He finishes everything around the rim. He protects the rim. Nobody takes layups when he's in the game. Um, so he's hurt right now. They're pivoting to the Zach Edey Grizzlies, and they've got length. They're going to draft all the spreadsheet favorites. I think I heard somebody else say this, so I can't take all. I don't remember who I heard. Maybe it was Finn Draft. It was Finn Draft on Twitter. They're loading up on picks, dude. Cam Boozer is going to fall in the draft, and Memphis is going to trade up to 4 and pick him. And they're going to have Cam Boozer and Zach
There you
Edey in the
go.
front court, and they're going to win a championship with those two guys. That's my hot take heading into the offseason. But Jaren Jackson to me is just like a little bit of he probably. I think people are just so biased to the skill set that he has because everybody wants like the rim protector that can shoot threes. Everybody thinks that'll solve their problems when really the problem like Jaren Jackson has his own problems. And it's kind of like have you ever heard like the 90% 10% theory of like athletes where it's basically like every athlete is 90% of whatever makes an athlete great is great. And that's what really matters. Every athlete has 10% of like, that's their negatives or whatever. And you have to deal with that 10% no matter what. Just focus on the 90%. I actually disagree with that, at least with regards to basketball. Maybe in other sports it works, but with basketball, like Jaren Jackson is just that bad of a rebounder. He is that bad of a finisher. He is kind of that bad of a passer to where the value that he accumulates over, say, 100 possessions or over, say, 48 minutes as a scorer, as a defender, a good 80% of it is washed away because he is so outwardly bad at the things that are negatives for him. Um, so, I think over 82 games, what he does defensively is super valuable. I think his fit with Zach Edey would have been interesting because they mask each other's sort of issues so well. But I'm not quite sure that he is as valuable as the assets that they got for him. I mean, the 3 first-round picks, I think, like, those could be good. Like, it's kind of a little bit of a lottery ball, but those aren't like aren't bad picks, so to speak. They're 3 B- to B+ range picks. So and Memphis is one of the best drafting teams in the league. I bet you that they'll get 2 good players out of those 3 picks, if I had to guess. So to add that on top of Clayton, to get off of Jaren Jackson's contract, which is tough. He's getting paid a lot of money for a while. I think that's good work from Memphis. One of the best front offices in the league to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love that take about like trading up into the top 4 with some of these assets. Like we talked about it off camera before we got going with this trade deadline stuff, but we're so excited about this draft. And there's so many people that they can trade up for and can go get to add to this. If you go get one of those top 4 picks and get one of these stars in this class, look at all the people you have next to them. You got Ja Morant, you got Ty Jerome, you got Zach Edey, you got Cedric Howard, you got all these people that can kind of add and make your team better. All you need is great role players. Zach Edey, like you're saying, blocking all these shots, doing all that stuff. If Ja buys in and can make those plays, you got a scorer at the point guard that can do those things. GG Jackson, great forward that I absolutely love watching play basketball. There's so many guys here. Scottie Pippen Jr., I didn't even mention, who will defend
Cam
his
Spencer.
butt off every single play. Yeah, Cam Spencer. Like there's so many guys here that can fit into a team surface. And they love Isolo. Isolo likes to play all of these guys. That's how he's played. He played in Europe. That's how he likes to play. And he'll get all these guys in like hockey subs, moving people around. I absolutely love what the Grizzlies did. I completely agree with you. It's a really interesting team, and you could see some fits here, and they're loading up for the future. I like that. I like that take.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Ja. Definitely, he could be next, right? Like he is kind of the last, I guess, remnant of the prior administration, so to speak. So maybe they will, like you said. I mean, they have like a really good infrastructure sort of around a guy. If you wanted to go that direction, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, "Hey, we're moving on." Like obviously, the Ja thing has just not really worked out the way that you hoped it would. Up until this point, you said that they love Lasalo. I don't think Ja does. I think the rest of them seem to like him, but him and Ja seem to butt heads a
Yeah.
little bit. So he could. I think my guess is that he's the next one out of the door this offseason. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think that they probably tried to move him and didn't really have a suitor this offseason. So, or this trade deadline. So, that
Yeah, I agree
we'll
with
see
you.
where it goes.
Probably one of them will end up leaving. Yeah, probably one of them will end up leaving just because of the butting heads. But I mean, that's just how it goes, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
If the guy can buy into the team culture, then it'll work. And if the guy can't, then it's not going to work. And those two have butted heads, and it's been a storyline. And I think that's what's derailing their season a little bit. But in the long run, it's probably going to help them, like we were saying, with how much depth they have. So
Yeah.
another winner that I really liked throughout this trade deadline. I mean, the Celtics didn't do much, but they just added to how loaded this team is. Getting Vucevic for this team is just the absolute perfect fit. Yes, you lost a guy in Porzingis in the offseason, but Porzingis could never really stay on the floor. Vucevic is a guy that could stay on the floor. He can spread the floor for you. You guys love shooting threes. I mean, I've seen them take 50 threes multiple occasions in NBA games. Vucevic loves to spread the floor and hit threes for them. I think this is a great fit. The Celtics are not going anywhere. Like we said earlier, they're third in net rating in the NBA. So they're going to be a legitimate threat to the Pistons or to the Cavs or to the top of the East. So I'm really looking forward to see how this fits for Boston, and I think they just added a perfect piece. And Brad Stevens continues to really put on a show on how to be a GM in the NBA.
Yeah, I got under the first apron, I believe, as well. So they whatever. We talk about the basketball happening on the court, but that is another reason I think that they made the moves that they did. Yeah, I think the Vooch fit is interesting. Sucks for Luka Garza. Really, really got somebody coming and standing on your corner now. That's very unfortunate. But I think is Vooch just gonna kind of be like is he just gonna take a bunch of threes now? Like is that the next iteration of Vooch's career? Because I think of Vooch, like obviously one of the more skilled sort of centers of the era. Has always had a little bit of a jump shot. It's fluctuated. I think like year to year, some years it goes in, some years it doesn't. This year it is going in. It's like 37%. He's taking a decent volume of them. Like he is a real shooter. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what really draws Boston in, as opposed to sort of all the work that he can do as a hub, as a post scorer. Not necessarily something that Boston's relied on as much. But my guess, like he's low-key washed, right? Like it's been a while for Vooch. He's been in the league like 15 years. Was he drafted like 2010 maybe? He's at least been in the league
Something
since then,
like
I feel
that,
like. Yeah.
He's
So
35
did he
years
get
old.
drafted?
Yeah.
Was Dwight Howard on the Magic when Vooch got drafted?
All I know is 2011. He was picked
Okay.
16th.
So no. So I
And
think
he was picked by
that was right
Philly,
when he left.
so no.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
He was picked by
Yep.
Philly. He was picked by Philly. That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Yep.
Anyway, but I was just gonna say, like, defensively, it's pretty rough for Vooch these days. He's not
Oh,
moving
yeah.
so well.
Always been a problem.
So yeah, always been a problem, but especially now. I think so. I think he'll come off the bench. I'm sure probably play lower minutes. I think that they'll still start Kada because of what he does as a defender and as a rebounder. And I mean, they have like the threes are getting up anyway. So we'll see. We'll see this late career resurgence for Vooch. The Celtics have some sort of devil magic, so I'm sure that'll play good for them. Um, but I didn't mind the move. I mean, Simons was playing pretty well, though, is the thing for what Simons does. I'm not the biggest fan of Simons, definitely. I also liked Minot, and they got rid of him. I would have liked the Pistons to get him. He's a
Yeah.
good fringe sort of margins player. Simons for Vooch, I feel like it's like a even, like a 50-50. You know, I don't know. They're both about the same. They both bring you some juice
Yeah.
offensively,
I feel
leave you a
like
lot to be desired on defense.
Yeah, I feel like with Simons, it's just like some of the stuff he does, they have multiple guys that can do that stuff. Like
Yeah,
Derek White.
totally.
They're so guard
Luka Garza's
heavy.
saying the same thing
And
about Vooch, man.
well, yeah, no, that's 100% true. That's 100% true. But like with center depth, like Cato with the energy level that he plays on, you need to have multiple centers that can do that stuff and can come into the game. Cato gets into foul trouble a lot.
Yeah.
And that's part of the way they want him to play. You know, they want him to be a rim protector that's aggressive. Adding another big to that is just going to help the Boston's rotations. And it adds shooting too. It adds more
Yeah.
shooting. And that's something
Well,
that they
losing
need.
Simons doesn't
And
add shooting,
yeah,
though. What do you
no,
lose
not
Simons
not
for?
at all. But like again, I feel like they have enough guard depth where it's like, okay, do we really need what Simons is doing? We have the scoring to be able to be okay there. And I feel like you'd rather have big depth than a bunch of guards that are doing the same things. But that's
Yeah.
my take there.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
That's valid.
Okay. Who's
Another
your
winner?
next winner? Yeah.
Could be a winner. We'll see if they're a winner. They could be a big winner. They could be a big loser, depending on how things go. But the Pacers, I think, trading for Ivica Zubac,
Yeah.
they traded protected picks. So the Pacers keep the pick if it's 1-4, or if it's 10 or later. So draft night is going to be tough for the Pacers. That's going to be, big anticipation as a Pistons fan. I mean, we need the worst for the Pacers. So also big night for us. They'll be getting Halliburton back next year, and I'm sure that they'll be very competitive again because, the easy thing to say was always, yeah, they lost Halliburton this year, and that makes them a lot worse, but they also lost Miles Turner. And they replaced him with Jay Huff, who's like an okay rotation big, but like a starter, not really. And, Miles Turner is a real starter. So what do they add? They add Ivica Zubac, who is better than Miles Turner. Had all NBA votes a season ago, who is one of the best rollers in basketball to pair with Tyrese Halliburton. Now, I think playing with Zubats and playing with Miles Turner is vastly different, obviously, because Miles Turner is just such a popper, and Zubats is sort of the antithesis of that. He's a pure sort of inside big, just about like the perfect kind of one that you could get for this modern era, who can play a couple ways defensively, but he just dominates the glass. He can kill mismatches in the post. Really excellent player, has great hands on the pick and roll and finishes everything. He's just so good that this trade annoyed me because I know that the Pacers next year are going to be really good if Halliburton is even 90% of what he was before he got hurt. Because now they have another sort of all-star level, I would say a big that I'll put it this way. I think he's about as good as Jalen Duren, I think you could say, right? Like Zubats, Jalen, maybe Duren will pass him here soon, right? But those are both kind of all-star level. Zubats was better last year, Jalen Duren better this year. But right now they're probably at the same level. So, they got a really good player, and it's possible that they don't actually have to lose much draft assets for it if they just get lucky in the lottery, and that would really be a big blow to somebody preying on the Pacers' downfall.
Yeah, the Pacers are definitely going to be scary next year. I'm not looking forward to seeing Halliburton back and seeing them attacking the Pistons in the East, but we will see for sure. It's definitely a future kind of thing. We'll see if they end up being a winner out of it. All right, my last winner, I really like what the T-Wolves did, getting Sumu, and kind of moving on from Conley. They've had point guard issues throughout like the whole year where it was Anthony Edwards trying to take up the ball and trying to do like all the stuff that they did. And you talked about it with the Giannis stuff, like they were clearing some cap to kind of make it happen so they can trade multiple players and be ready for that if it were to happen, right? I think bringing DeSumo in will really help them getting the guard thing going because Terrence Shannon, he's pretty good. I mean, you've got two Illinois guards there now, but he in the NBA, he hasn't really been a great ball handler that you trust all the time with the ball. And
He's like a
DeSumo's
pure
the kind of
wing.
guy where you
He's a
can be
pure
like,
wing now.
yeah, he's a pure wing. And like I talk about this all the time, but I remember after playing Terrence Shannon, Rocket Watts came back and was at practice and he was telling me, he was like, I've never seen an athlete like that. That was just
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. So Shannon to me has always been that athletic wing guy where you don't really want him with the ball in your hand. DeSumo, on the other hand, he loves having the ball. He's great on the pick and roll. He can make things happen. He can do that stuff for you. And if you're having a game where Edwards just doesn't have it, which doesn't happen very much, or like Edwards is just getting doubled on every screen and needs an extra ball handler in the game, you got to Sumu for that. I think it answers a lot of playoff questions and it's just a really good ad for them.
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, he's a playoff rotation player, and when you can add that at the deadline, I think that that's a plus. I would say like 4 seconds, Dillingham, like that's about fair. I think. Like I don't necessarily think that
Mm-hmm.
the Bulls got robbed, so to speak. Maybe if you traded him at the perfect time, you could have got a first for Desumu. But I think 4 seconds is decent work. And a couple of young player swings. It probably won't happen for Dillingham, but who knows? So I agree. I mean, yeah, the Wolves got a little bit better. That's all you can ask for. Will Desumu keep shooting 46% from three? Unlikely. I will say.
Yeah.
Unlikely, yeah.
That is true. That is true. Chicago did start out the season really, really hot. So, all
Yeah.
right, let's stick to one
Can I
loser
get one
to end.
one loser, okay. Can I give you one win?
Yeah,
One more winner, one quick winner.
I got
The
it.
Matt
You go one winner and one loser. I like it.
Okay, fair enough. The Magic traded Tyus Jones for 2 second-round picks and cash. No, Tyus Jones and 2 second-round picks for cash. Big winner, Orlando Magic, for getting rid of Tyus Jones. That means Jace Richardson gets to play. So, great move by them. You wanted to take a loser here?
Sure, I got you. I'll go first loser. Mine is the Clippers, and you talked
Mm.
about like
Well, it could be.
getting Garland. It could be.
It could
It
be a
could be.
winner.
Like again,
It's possible.
it could be a winner 100%. It's a very future move, kind of like the Pacers here. But they just lost so much. I mean, if you're looking back to NBA previews, everybody was like, watch out for the Clippers. You bring in Chris Paul, you bring in all these guys. They're so talented. If they can just stay healthy, this will be an unbelievable team. Well, look at the start they had. And yes, they're on a win streak. They're starting to come back a little. Kawhi's playing great basketball as an all-star again and looks fantastic. Yeah, that's all good. But this was supposed to be a playoff contending team to me. And they just completely fell off the wind. And now they had to give up on the team completely. Some of the moves they made, I actually don't mind. Bringing in Garland makes you younger, Benedict Mathurin younger, and Isaiah Jackson younger. But like to me, this should have been done in the offseason. They should have seen this
Mm.
team and be like, this team is so old that why are we trying to compete with all these old guys when one of them is either going to go off the rails or get injured? Like you can't compete with like a ton of 35-year-olds in the NBA. It's an 82 game season when we're playing this long, the body's gonna fall apart, So to me, this just should have been done earlier. That's why I consider them a loser. They should have had the foresight to see this earlier. Some of the
Yeah.
moves I actually like, but it's just sad that like Clippers fans have to go through a year where it's like, okay, we're gonna be in the play-in this year. Like everybody talked about us being near the top of the West, and we're just not there.
Yeah, I guess to play devil's advocate, getting Darius, what they got for what you're right. Like, I mean, it's just such a disappointment kind of. And this trade deadline is the culmination of that disappointment. And they're a loser in that sense. But for the way that it went to be like if you told me, 3 months ago today, that you're like at the deadline, the Clippers traded Harden for Garland, I'd be like, oh, like, okay, they got
Yeah.
younger. They're like you said, the youngest team or the oldest team in the league. They added some youth. I mean, I was looking the other day because I was trying to think of destinations for Jaden Ivey. And I was like, man, I mean, the Clippers might not have one player under 25 who's going to, or they might have one player
Yeah.
under 25 who's going to be in the league in like 3-4 years. Like you really don't know. So,
Mhm.
they got younger in that sense. And I mean, if the pick hits, the pick hits. And, if they had Caleb Wilson or, Kingston Flemings or something, like if they just have a guy to believe in going towards the future, I mean, they're kind of on a better path than I would have thought that they would have been as of a couple months ago. But if that pick doesn't hit, then I mean, yeah, it does get a little bit tough.
It
for
gets
sure.
dicey a little bit. So who's
Yeah.
your loser that you're looking at?
Yes. You can't have a losers column. This is an account. Can't have a loser segment without the Sacramento Kings, baby. Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, Dario Saric, and 2 second-round picks for DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter's bad. He's the third best player in that trade, and they
Mhm.
traded away picks. And I'm pretty sure you have to pay Hunter longer than you have to pay. You definitely have to pay Hunter longer than you have to pay Keon and Schroeder. So, just bad work right there from Sacramento. That's what we come to expect.
Yeah, it's been rough for them, man. They had to hang on to Levine, they had to hang on to DeRozan,
But
or
they
and
didn't have to
Sabonis.
acquire these players. They were
No,
not forced to
no.
acquire. This team did not have to exist. This is my quick aside, dude. People are always talking about, and Shams had tweeted about it earlier this year, whatever. The NBA investigating ways to curtail tanking. It's like, pull up Tankathon. The worst teams thought that the Kings thought that they'd be good. The Clippers thought that they were going to be good. I don't know. Do we have to curtail tanking, or do we just need smarter people making decisions?
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of people within NBA organizations will be like, "Yeah, you gotta be on the inside to see, how difficult the decisions are." I feel like if they listen to some, outside opinions a little bit more, it actually might help them because we're not seeing it on a day-to-day basis, so we can kinda see it in a whole league's lens. It's just interesting. I don't know.
This could be the most ridiculous thing I ever said. I will say. Well, I don't know what's so hard about it. I swear to God, if I just made every single decision for an NBA team over the last 3 years, we'd be fine. We'd be in a good spot.
It
That
would
is
be in a good
100%
spot.
true. What is so difficult about it? It's not that hard. The draft comes around, you pick a good player. It's not that hard to figure out. Just don't pick terrible. Don't pick Cody Williams. Just don't do it. Don't pick somebody. Don't pick anybody who's too skinny. Don't pick anybody who turns the ball over a lot. Don't pick anybody who doesn't ever get any rebounds or get any stock. Just look at the stats. It's not that hard. We can figure this out and build a good team, Sacramento. I don't think it's that hard. I really don't.
Yeah, that's part of the reason that makes it so fun, though. There is so many dynamics,
Yeah,
and some
that's
people
true.
get lost into how many dynamics there are when you just gotta narrow down, okay, what are your values? What do you like? It's
Pick Luka
interesting.
Doncic. That
Yeah.
was a good one. I could have given him that advice.
Yeah, don't fall in love with Marvin Bagley Jr.
Don't trade Tyrese Halliburton.
Exactly, exactly. All right, well, that is gonna wrap up the show for today. Matt, thanks so much for coming on, man. This is always fun.
Of course. Of course. Of
Uh,
course. I'm happy to come on anytime you want, man. Anytime. I'm always happy.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Please subscribe on YouTube, follow the show on Spotify, do what you got to do to help out the show. And I will see you next time. Peace.